Ladies and gentlemen, what is back? What is going on? I'm back with my software developer coffee mug. My mom gave this to me, so gotta love her. Gotta love her. So, guys, just huge thank you again. We are absolutely did not want to put too much of ChatGPT's stuff out there, but guys, thank you so much for watching the channel. And things are just kind of cruising right along with the channel. We smashed through another goal, and that was just last episode. So I wanted to record something. I obviously had a little bit of a concussion. Ended up going to just one of those urgent care clinics last night. Kind of everyone was like, dude, you should probably check it out. Between my girlfriend, my buddy Chester, my dad, my girlfriend's sister, and I feel like one other person said, dude, you should probably go check it out. So we popped by there last night, and fortunately they didn't seem too concerned about it, which is great news. And it's always bad, like walking, for anyone who missed last episode, it's I got hit in the back of my head by my dryer, like my clothing dryer. So walking into a clinic and you have to explain that is never. It's a humbling experience as a man, we'll put it that way. So, but back to the task tracker. I've done a ton of work. Oh, actually rewind for a second. Before talking about the task tracker, guys, the software engineering course is in the description below. It's my teachable program. I'll pop it open here, show you what it looks like. And basically, it's just me offloading some of these distilled concepts from more of a teacher standpoint. These longer form podcasts, I really do love doing. But, you might just see me kind of skating through the application and maybe not fully explaining stuff or dissecting stuff. Where the software engineering program that I just showed you, for $2 a day is what I'm trying to make it affordable and obviously distilled quality content, and it helps me a ton. As time goes on and as I grow, obviously, either I haven't decided that the course is going to be cheaper, or I'll up the price and make like an all access pass and put out more courses. But this is obviously the first go, the first take, and obviously the early on-comers, like your support is strongly appreciated, because this does help me a ton. So here's me just talking about a little bit of what it's about. Here's the Honeydew project that me and a buddy are building, and here's kind of some other applications I've built. We're talking about the code or the graphs, and you guys have seen concepts here as well. Or here's this AI body recognition web application using a TensorFlow API, which is super fun building. So you can see when I analyze, actually I could probably just show you guys here. What was it called? TensorFlow recognition. TensorFlow recognition. So it's this fun application that I built. Let's see, my computer's lagging a little between recording, doing everything. So it just tells you about what the technology is used, kind of a little bit what it's about. You could skip through all those, and then it should ask for access on the webcam here. You can see my face, and then it can analyze and actually show you what body parts are on the screen. So it should say left wrist, and it shows you some confidence. Right ear, just taking the structure of the ears, obviously, chest, torso. But if I slide out a screen, it should all go away. Do you see that? So then I can kind of put an arm in there, and you'll see more things described. But point being is whether I don't know if I'm going to build that application right away, because the course is kind of starting from like, hey, we're building small React ideas, and then we're upping to Tailwind and stuff like that. But the course is really just offloading the distilled knowledge that I have. And here's like some other applications that I'm just showing you guys as from an experience thing. Here's something I was contracted out for, an oil and gas dashboard. Here's something I'm contracted out for currently. And then I also talk about the concepts and things that I learned at Babson. And obviously you guys have heard a lot of that if you're following the Code Chronicles series, which is all this stuff that we're going over here. in addition to that, so that's wrapping up the course. Please check that out if you want to support the channel. Obviously, like and subscribe as well. That helps a ton. And we're just flying through subscribers. So I am so grateful. I remember the first 5 subscribers like it was yesterday, and it was like literally a week ago or 2 weeks ago. We're already at like literally about to crush the next goal, which is just absolutely absurd. So guys, thank you so much. I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. But in addition to that, I cleaned up some of the application, adjusted the schema. Yesterday, we were talking about taking away abstractions. The episode yesterday was "My head hurts, don't make it hurt more," meaning don't add additional abstractions if you don't need to. Don't rename variables, across the application. They should all be the same, all that stuff. As well, I updated some of the to-do list of what we need to cover. Obviously, we've covered Git, we've established Next. We've figured out our state management. We're obviously using TypeScript and Tailwind. So I guess WebSockets and stuff, that'll be probably a tail-end polish thing. We got our contracts roughly down. We're not really using Swagger Hub. We're kind of using Prisma to generate our contracts. That would be awesome to actually import the types from that. We got our database here, and we wrapped it with our ORM of Prisma. So here's our ORM. We're using Express and TypeScript and Node.js on the back end. We do want to get into some testing. So I did write that up on the to-do list of Cypress. Another thing I did play around with today was containerizing an application and configuring an Nginx script. And I did play around with some Kubernetes, but I could not get that figured out. So we're going to keep Kubernetes on the back burner for a second. But these two things I do want roughly in the near future. So I'm going to go ahead and start implementing back to our to-do list. Before doing that, there is one thing I've been kind of working on today, and it's going to be the update status. I had to break out the update task from the update status. They're two different things now because just the way that the task is. Originally, if we look at our JSON, let's see. So here's how we were kind of pushing it when we were using the model or the MongoDB model schema, was just push it in like this as JSON. But then when we go to Prisma, we can't just like push it in as JSON like that, which is kind of unfortunate. Or we can, but then when we delete them, for instance, it won't delete the entire object because this exists in the database in another part of the database. Now, when we call it to the front end, it looks like this, but on the back end, it actually looks something like this, where they're two separate things in data. So when we delete a task, we have to check that there's a task status associated to this task. I'll show you guys. And then we have to delete that task status and the task. So we check if there's a task status, and we check for that where the task ID on the task status exists, and that it's real and that it's associated to whatever task, task ID 4 or whatever task ID. And then we also check for a task with the same ID, and you delete them both. And that's what this transaction here is. It's making this an atomic function. And atomic means either everything succeeds or if like, let's say the task status deletes, but the task itself can't delete, the whole transaction will stop. It won't allow it. It won't allow it. It makes it's an all or nothing thing. So deleting has to be that way, because let's say one of these succeeds and the other one doesn't, or vice versa, this one succeeds and this one doesn't. It means that, let's say if we deleted a task and it just deleted the status, but then the task still exists, so then where does the task go? Or vice versa, if it just delete the task and only the status exists, now you just have like a blank card. So making them atomic is essential, and it means all or nothing. All things have to be deleted, or nothing's deleted. It's failed. We'll opt out to the catch. We'll do something happened where it didn't delete, etc. So we'll say fix update task status. That is on our to-do list. And I know we had everything working and this isn't really a huge priority. Maybe we'll do medium. We'll say Kanban. But when we obviously swapped over to Prisma, there's going to be some minor changes that we need to configure, and this is one of them, right? Which is unfortunate, right? Because we did have everything working, and I hate breaking software, but you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And if we're trying to build something that is of substance, where we're going to learn and how about integrate containers, containerization, I think is how it's spelled. Priority low, and we'll say general. Test status in progress. Okay. So we can see we're having some errors here. Let's see. Let's pull up our thing. What was I about to say? I forget. I forget what I was about to say. Breaking software and building something that's like, you know, hopefully of substance. That's what we're trying to do here, right? When building this task manager, it's yes about getting the concepts and the CSS and the HTML and the backend and Node working, but we're trying to take things just a little bit to that next level too, where we're gonna containerize it, where we're going to configure an Nginx script, where we're going to do some of these things. So let's see, so integrate, because the idea is we don't want to build these like cheap applications, right? It's like test, and how about we just put it in to-do, see if that works. Interesting, we're still getting some errors. I wonder if it's something I just changed here. Task status. Why would that not work all of a sudden? Let's regenerate the script or the contract. But yes, so the idea is I don't like to do cheap stuff, and it's not like a money thing. It's not like a monetary thing. It's like a lack of effort thing. Like maybe you guys could see a little bit behind me, or like just how I dress, or hopefully how I do things. It's never to be like monetary is not the thing, but quality and effort and attention to details is. That's always been important. I mean, it's consistent throughout my life, the way I build software, the way I take care of my truck, the way I hopefully live with a little bit of like style, and even like little things like this, like putting a light over my cabinets, just tiny things like that. It's the details for me. It like truly is. And so similar thing with the software, I want to build it in a way where we're really looking at something that's like that I can look at and be proud of, and proud to have gone on this journey with you guys of like, I didn't know Prisma, you know what I mean? A week ago, 2 weeks ago. Constraint. Okay. What is our constraint here for post task? Task count, we can maybe do count +1. Oh, you know what? It's because this one's ID 6. So we're going to have to keep track of the count maybe. I saw that. So if that one was ID 6 and we were trying to make ID 6, I think there was an error there. So let's see if this works now. Potentially. Maybe that was it. And let's go to our database. Let's see what we're looking at here. So ID, okay. So we'll say T, low, T, to do, boom. Let's see if that worked. No. Okay, guys, weird. So interesting that stuff is breaking right now. And so this is fun though. At the same time, as much as I've thought about this concept too of I know we kind of jump to the users and all this stuff. I almost want to build out the entire application service, at least just this Kanban page is what I've been thinking. front to back, meaning like we want to handle containerization, we want to handle DevOps, we want to get to AWS, we want to write some tests for this and just kind of finalize the task I've thought about, and then slowly add stuff, because then we can easily see when stuff is breaking. So weird. Now we're working all of a sudden. I don't know. Maybe the server just needed to be restarted. Let's try again. Let's say to do. Okay, one more time, and we have an error. So this is where it's interesting. But I'm noticing we have ID 4 and now we have ID 5 in front of it. So I wonder if it has something to do with the task ID. If that is the case, then we are going to generate some sort of like UUID or GUID, I think is what it's called, I believe. Let's see if we receive TT to do. Here's the ID. So let's see if we can see that in our console. We'll restart the server. Refresh client, might as well. Okay, server's back up and running. So we should be able to fetch something, right? Nice. Okay, and we'll go test again. Priority medium. We'll say category test in progress. Let's see. So it's this ID issue. 5 is the ID. So we already have an ID 5 here. We can see -5. That's our ID. So I do want to, let's see. Generate a ID and node. Could do this, I suppose. Const crypto, install the crypto library, or package rather, and go ahead and we'll just steal this for our IDs. Looks like this will work. And if we say crypto, we might have to change the schema though, instead of, because I think this might be a string, but it doesn't seem like it's throwing any errors, so that's a good start. And this way we will have really long IDs here, but I'll just slice it to be the tail end of them or something, or the beginning. Not a big deal. We just don't want to have this ID issue anymore. So let's see what it said. Task ID invalid value provided. Okay, so it is a string, and we were expecting a integer in our schema. So what I can do is change this to, what was that, the status? Or the task. So either we could change this to a string or change the other to, let's see the error here. Type field task ID, task status does not match. So we can either change this to a string, excuse me, or make this a number. So I can do this. That would work, I believe, but it may not work now that I'm thinking about it, because it's going to have other characters. So let's see. Pull the trigger, see what happens. Go ahead and break some stuff. Task ID is missing. Okay. So let's convert this over to a string. We're going to get a error here, task error. Error passing relation, task ID in the model, task status is not type reference. Okay, so I think we just need to change this to string. Okay, looks like the problem is solved. So let's npx update the contract. We might break our controller a little bit. Let's see, we'll run start. Let's see if we break anything, because any task ID now, integers won't work. We now need to do, so all the task IDs are broken. So that makes sense. Rec.params. So we can actually just not do that. Just pass in task ID, because now the rec.params will be this big old ID. So I'm doing this basically, but the shorthand is just that. So let's see. See if this works. So that fixes that. And then we have our update task. Okay, let's see if we can get our task UU random UUID. Gonna refresh the client just to make sure we are good to go on this end. And I do want to have that server function that keeps trying until the server starts, just to kind of simulate cold starts. Let's see. Failed to convert 0 to string. Okay, so when fetching tasks now, we're going to have all these tasks in our database that are going to be number indexed. So let me drop or flush the data. One of the two, either update the data or flush the data. Let's see if this will work now. Task ID invalid, provided integer, but we needed a string. Okay, so let's go to the task status. I think task ID string. So here we are doing a string. Task status ID. So where are we getting task status ID? From the front end. Is it going to be the same as, let's go to our task store. We're passing it in here. Sorry guys, this is obviously more work than we want to do. We don't even have a task status thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete that out of here. Just gonna break this. We don't need task status this. Can just pass it in as a task ID or UUID. But then we need to change our status to a string. Problem solved. I really don't know why we have a task status ID and a task ID, but and I think we're getting just red underlines right now because we didn't update the contract. So give me a sec. We'll update and I'll run start. So in theory, us doing all this extra work where, you know, it did just work before nicely. In theory, this is so we can easily maintain it down the road and scale it a lot better. And I think it's going to make deployment and containerization a lot easier, potentially. So let's see, create. Come on, baby, success. Nice. Okay, so now we have a unique ID for all of these tasks. And just on the front end, we can just show not print, but if we go to our base column and our task cards, we're just showing the entire ID here. So task category, show the task ID right here, toString. We can take off the toString because it is always going to be a string now, and we can just slice and say 0 to like 4, right? So it's just going to show the first 4 characters. Let's see, what's this? Slice property does not exist on number. Well, it really shouldn't be number. Oh, you know what though? Our schema on the front end, our type is going to be number. So I do want to inevitably, we'll put that on our to-do list, which is going to be update types, or update Prisma to update types. Meaning we want to pull our types because the types that the front end are using are the contracts that we kind of built. But we don't want the front end to do that. We want our types to be automatically updated all from Prisma. So when we change anything in our schema, updates all the types for the entire project, front end and back end, right? But right now we have to go over to our utils, we have to go to our types, we have to look at our task type maybe, and change this to string. And that should fix that error there. Or I could have done toString, that would have worked too. But let's see. Slice does not exist on number, so sometimes you just need to save and close out. Oh, and we have handle delete as a number. Let's go anywhere in the application like that. It's just going to be task ID now. We don't have as number, so Let's see, folks. Type string does not exist on parameter number. Oh, that's so just. Yeah, I definitely want to get away from doing this as thing. And I want, because then we have to update it here as well. In the update task, it needs to be string, right? Just makes it more and more irritating everywhere. Everywhere. String is not assignable to React node. Oh, I don't like this. Don't like this, guys. So let me, I guess on the front end, let's keep it as, oh, well, that's for starters. Can't have uppercase string. That doesn't help anything. But let's maybe take the easy road on the front end right now, because the front end is always kind of going to be floating. Let's go ahead and just keep it as numbers on the front end. So wherever we were, task slice, and we will just keep it toString and say dot slice and 0 to 3. So now we should have still unique task. Let's see if we're erroring out elsewhere. Let's just see our little mini map. Task ID as number, I see. Let's see, as string. Oh, but I guess the data is always going to come back as a number, right? If we're parsenting it somewhere. Task ID is not. Because the data always should be coming back as a string anyways. I'm just trying to find kind of a cheap bailout for right now, which is not probably not the best thing to do, but I don't want to have to handle all of this stuff right now on the front end, because we're gonna be moving the front end, I feel like, a little bit. Let's just go ahead and parsent these things then. That's fine here. Make sure we're still all working and functioning. Data-wise, we may not be. Let's see. So if we just go ahead and build a test and delete it, let's see. Didn't work. Okay, and that's largely going to be because we're not parsenting the correct data. So I don't think we're going to be able to do a cheap bailout right now. Where this is going to need to be a string. This is going to need to be a string. It's all going to need to be converted over. So task ID. So we can go ahead and just do this. String, string, string. Handle update task from task store. Let's see, we're going to have a bunch of strings, right? Or a bunch of numbers, excuse me, for task ID. So let's go ahead and just highlight all of them. Say string. Okay, looks like that fixed that pretty quick. Say delete task, and that could be as string. Actually, let's see what the error is. It might be because we're passing in a number now. Type string is not perfect. So over here, oh, looks like it went away. Okay, cool. I think that took no time at all, but we would like the Prisma types to update everything. Let's just go ahead and create another task, and we'll just delete this one to see if we can delete it. Perfect. Okay, but we would want the Prisma every time we do npx generate. It should update all of our types, and reason is because we're treating this as kind of our contract from the front end to back end, and realistically it should be, right? But if we have task type, let's just look at these side by side, because it's redundant. If we can get away with just having Prisma generate all of our contracts, so every time we do npx run generate, it should just update like a file like this. And I believe how to do it, now that we're here, is we can just pass a like shared folder here, pris.js, I suppose. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. So we're going to pull this out of our application and it should pop up somewhere here, I think. Shared. Let's look for shared. This might lead to unexpected behavior. Prisma client. Please make sure they have the same version. Prisma client. Okay, let's see. Maybe I went one too far. But I will look into it. And the idea is I just want to build out the task service. Let's just call it one service. Oh, boom, here's a folder. But I do want it one step further, but fine there. If we keep it in the back end, not a big deal. But the idea is if we can have a task manager, let's just say this Kanban service all the way. Oh, perfect. It generated it right where we wanted it. So let's go ahead and delete this. But if we can, let's just say the Kanban page, we have it from like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, MongoDB, Prisma, and then we containerize it, put it in Docker, and we write tests for that entire thing end to end, making sure you can go from column to column and post and delete tasks and all that stuff. And then also deploy it on AWS in like a serverless way. All of a sudden, we have a genuinely good microservice, like a scalable, decent thing, right? So I think we might slowly kind of press for something like that, and obviously integrate all of our OWASP stuff. I was playing around with Redis earlier as well. Wasn't finding very much love in it, but I think that would do us a lot of justice as well, because then when we inevitably move on and then actually go to the dashboard page fully, which we're like almost there with, right? But then we can just like focus on one service at a time, like just the project completion, just the user's task, and just slowly build. And then if anything breaks the application, we know, okay, it was just that new thing we added. Cause I like that a lot better in my mind than, kind of what we did was like get paint on canvas and then start spreading it everywhere. Which is working. We are getting an application put together. So there's no really like one right way to do it. But let's see, did that work? Shared Prisma, I think it kind of did. Can we not put it in if we just put it here, would that just pop it in a shared folder? Let's see. Oh, it is making it go to a pris.js. Okay. So Prisma generate. But again, the reason being, the more we can kind of like automate and build systems around our system, like there's even ideas that I came up with last night of, I want to have a testing suite within this application. Reason being is that's where I feel like really powerful software is built. And even if this only has like 5 users, no users at all, or 10 users, it's like, it's actually showing quality. It's actually showing something that you can build out from end to end robustly, right? Instead of throwing a bunch of shit at the wall, which inevitably we'll have to do, but I hope you guys can kind of see the idea I'm coming from of like, I want to build something quality. That's the ultimate goal. Okay, so let's look at this. We have Prisma. Can I just import the types directly from here? Is that a possibility? Maybe. So if we go Prisma on the back end, let's just get rid of the output folder. And let's just delete this. Because if we could just pull types in from Prisma, then let's just do that. You know what I mean? So I'm going to try, let's say import task from let's see, we need backend and we need Prisma. And How's that looking? Okay, if we do schema, maybe this should all be one thing, right? Because we got to install Prisma on the front end. So me kind of having it separated, I'm like kind of dividing the front end from the back end, where I'm saying this is my back end folder, this is my front end folder, when really I could just have Taskify and basically just have it all look like a front end repo, but then just have a back end repo within there potentially, or just have all of this stuff exist in the front end. Like it would all just exist at the same root level. So that there might be some structural things that I change here. Because I guess technically I don't need to do a front end or back end thing. It could just all be Taskify, the application. Let's see, npm I Prisma. Where's our Prisma client command? Is it just slash client? Okay. Because then they could share. Oh, did not want to do that. But then everything can share the same package.json. Maybe it's a cleaner architecture too, you know. Not sure if that would be easy though for deployment, but I will think about it, right? Then I can just say from Prisma here at Prisma, right? Prisma client. Let's see, folks. Let's see. So if we say tasks, ooh, we're breaking stuff. I can see. Are we? Has no exported member of task client. Okay, so if we go to Prisma though, is it possible? Is it possible to just export? Because that would be so easy just to have Prisma generate everything. Because every time we touch the data schema, we know everywhere it's broken. So it is kind of like TRPC in a way. But how does it do it then with controllers? I feel like that's exactly how it does it. Yeah, Prisma client, just like that. So I wonder if it's because I don't have a schema on the front end. So like I said, if we made this all one universal thing, maybe it'd be a good deal, you know? So I'm actually going to, I'm gonna send it, guys. I'm gonna pop the folder in. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't do that right now. Maybe I should save at least. And actually, yeah, let's just see if we can do that. Let's duplicate the folder before I make this jump. Let's just pop it in the front end, maybe even for now, just temporarily, just to see if we can do this. Because if this works, okay, so we import task. Prisma has no exported client. And let's see, npx Prisma generate. Let's see what that does for us. On the front end, maybe it'll build what we need to build. Because if that works, then we'll just go ahead and stack it all as a mono repo. I think that could be the wave, folks. I really do. That could be potentially the wave. Oh my goodness. So I think that is working. That's just incredible, because then we can literally just have everything be linked up already as task, for instance. And then, okay, if I change the schema at all, and that's going to throw an error because we need to pass in task status separate from task, which I don't like though, because then we're going to have to do a lot of changes potentially, or I can do one of these, right? So it's going to say, I think that error is because, sorry guys, I need to zoom out. I know people want me to be zoomed in, but sometimes I need to zoom out just to see. So I could say as task or task status. Let's see if that handles that error. It does. Okay. So we would have to do some stuff like that. But I really do think in the long run, again, there's kind of some shifting undercurrents right now in the recent few episodes. So maybe not the most entertaining in a sense, but I do think very important, because if this is done successfully, all these undercurrent moves kind of, it's just going to make our life so much easier. Like it just really will. It just is going to. So, I'm not committing to it now, but I really do think that is going to be a strong idea. So let's go ahead and undo some of the Prisma stuff here into the front end. Let's pop it back into the back end where it belongs. But I really do like that idea of just putting it all into one repo. You can see I was messing around with Docker earlier, getting all the Docker files, trying to get figured out and run containers with. So maybe that is something we can do today as well. Let me pull up my Docker desktop application. Okay, so this is just literally showing all the containers that I have and all the containers I've built. And there's one running right now with a few containers in it. So I can try to maybe shoot for that right now, but I do like how fruitful this episode is for ideas. I do have a lot of ideas, and they're based around building a really robust system, right? Something that just is kind of dynamic and not something I have to regularly like do these tiny updates. It's just, we'll just add to it and break and add and break and add and break, but we'll know where everything's broken instantly. If everything's linked up to Prisma, if all of our things are named the same, right? Like that's what this is all about. If everything's named the same and we're breaking stuff and our contract is generated for the entire project because of this one file, then all of a sudden I think a lot of data and, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden I become a 5-man team just by being one person, right? So I think it's a great leverage of time. It may not feel that way, but it really is. It really is. So let me go ahead and pop another connect DB. Let's just say priority high, category DB, and we'll say status done. Okay, we're not up and running, so let's npm run start. Obviously the front end's down now too, I forgot. So let's look at our Docker file while these other ideas kind of marinate in the back of my brain on how to approach it easiest. Again, I do like to sleep on things and kind of let it marinate, because then, you know, sometimes you can do the right things, right? So, okay, so here's what I have in this project. Something like this. Let's expose port 8080. Make sure our Docker file is, we've got a Docker ignore, which we can ignore node modules, which I believe we're doing already. Perfect. Docker compose is the next thing I need to add into the root of the project. So we'll say docker.compose. Docker.compose, -compose.yaml. And let's go ahead and build some infrastructure as code here. I'm going to paste it in over here, so I don't want you guys to totally see it. There are a few things in there, but just take my word for it. There's some infrastructure as code in that file. Let's see. So our Docker file, and then the last thing I believe we want to do is try to compose a container. So let me just go through all my commands. So we got npx. Let's see, Docker build. Boom, boom. We'll name this one Taskify. Let's see if it runs. And then we're going to need to, this is going to produce a SHA-256 key, so I should pop it off here. I guess it's not a big deal. I'll just crash that container by the time you guys see this. But let's see. So it should compile, save to doc, tree file list. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so we want docker compose up build. Let's see, it's building. We should get the SHA-256 failed to unknown. Let's see. Oh, I see, because I have Nginx commands with this infrastructure as code. Okay, so I guess we'll just go ahead and do 2 birds, 1 stone and build out our Nginx commands as well. So we'll go docker file. Oh, sorry guys. Docker file dot Nginx commands. Paste that in here. Boom. Got that one done. Let's get our Nginx here. Nginx.conf. Let's see, boom, boom, and I think that's all we need. Let's try that one more time. Let it rip, see what happens. So it's building. Looks like it's working, guys. Wrote the image, boom, SHA-256, here we go. So that looks like it's going to be successful. Fingers crossed. We're almost there. Should be there. Come on. So meanwhile, I could pull up our Lucid chart, I believe, just to kind of talk about what we're doing from a bird's eye concept view. I think that could help a lot. So, oh, phone's got 20% left. So I'll be wrapping this episode up a little bit soon. And I think this will be an appropriate time too, is we did a little bit of cleanup, did a little bit of debugging, built some plans on how to use Prisma to generate our types. And I'm probably going to do some behind the scenes, just constructing to see if that will actually be feasible. I just wanted to get kind of up and running, and I'll push all these changes. And that way, if I really do mess some things up, because we're going to be doing some big architecture shifts, that we're not completely just wrecking the application. Okay, npm install. Looks like we're actually having an issue here on the run install. But the idea we're trying to do here is our perceived front end, right? And maybe I'll pop this up here like this. And we have a server, but the server we want to have like a reverse proxy, right? Some sort of load balancer, some sort of let's see, Nginx. And what this load balancer is going to do into our system is it's going to say, because when we're building all these Docker images, oh, sorry guys, this should be gone like that. Okay. So if we're building all these images, right, we're going to have these systems that kind of look like this, right, where they're going to be copies of each other, I believe. So here's Docker. Here's what Docker's doing. It's building a virtual machine where, let's see, I want a little Docker. And it's kind of wrapping all this stuff up. And we actually have a little bit more stuff in here too. We have like our environment, right? So we have our environments, we have our package.json, right? We have just kind of other configurations. And Docker is saying, well, we're going to wrap this up, all of this up, and all this stuff too. And we're going to copy it. This is going to be our little Docker container. This is our image, right? And I forget how it goes. It's like images, it goes files, then images, and then containers. So Docker will have a file for it to write all of this stuff in, and then all this stuff will generate this container. And this container is going to be this virtual environment that should be good at any system. So it configures everything for us. If we look at our Docker file, let's go to that Docker file, boom. It's going to say, okay, from node 12, we want this. Here's our package.json. Here's our package lock. Install everything, configure the environment, and here's some of your commands that you need to build this application or to start it, right? So it's bundling all of that up here, and it can now make copies of this and send it out everywhere, right? And I believe what Nginx is doing when we have all these Docker files, right? What Nginx possesses the ability to do, and this looks different on larger systems too. You might have multiple load balancers that go into even more load balancing, right? Like you might have layers of load balancers, where let's say this Nginx server first, like maybe these two are split on your IP address, and then they start equally distributing users, right? I think there's multiple strategies you can do with Nginx, but let's just go for a basic thing from a bird's eye view, rough understanding, right? Nginx is going to say, okay, here's our users coming in. Here's one of our users. Okay, where should I go? What server has the least amount of traffic on it? And Nginx is going to kind of determine that for us, right? So hopefully, oh, I got the wrong one here. Let's see. Our Docker thing failed, I think, or did it initiate? Port is already allocated. Okay, so we just need to change the port because I was using it earlier, and I think it's still deployed. So either Docker is going to be where the servers go, or we have our own servers, and Nginx is basically going to say, okay, Docker lives on these servers, like all of our containers or multiple of these containers, right? And here's, let's say, our client, right? Here's one of our clients. They get delivered our front end. It goes to our Nginx server for like all of our functions or our data or something like that. And Nginx is going to say, out of these 4 servers or containers, which one's being used the least? Okay, put our user there. And let's say each one of these, what are these, pentagons? Let's say each one of them represents 1 million users or 10,000 users, right? So it comes to our Nginx script. It says, okay, and our Nginx script will say, let's check this one. Nope, that one has people there. Let's pop them over to this one. Okay, cool. Here comes another 10,000 users or 1,000 users, right? What's our server look like over here? Boom. Okay, let's pop them over to this one. These 2 are full. And there's different algorithms and different strategies, but that's roughly the idea. Is Nginx will say, okay, you go there, you go there, you go there, you go there. And I believe, I need to look more into Kubernetes, but Kubernetes, I believe, contains all of our other Docker containers. So let's say this is kind of our whole application. I think we can do even more where, let me delete all this real quick. So we can have like our front end put on a Docker thing. We can have our database, like one of our databases put in Docker. We can have our node servers put in a Docker container. So we can have all these separate processes. Like here's a Docker container, here's a Docker container, and then here's a Docker container. And that would make up our application. And I believe Kubernetes is saying, oh, forgive me on the database here. Sorry, I pressed the wrong key. Let's just grab another. So let's say we have each one of these containers. One has Node.js, one has one of our databases, one has the front end. Kubernetes, I believe, is saying, okay, let's control all of these things. Let's distribute them equally. Let's do what we need to do. We'll orchestrate all of these things together. Don't totally quote me on that one. I'll have to dive in a little bit more. But this is my rough understanding of Nginx and what it's ultimately doing as a load balancer. and Docker ultimately bundling up our package, our application, and us giving it a script so it can build an image, and the image can live in a container. So let's see. Let's get back to where we're kind of at. So assuming this is done correctly, response driver failed. Let's go to our Docker file. Say port 8090 and Docker compose up build. Let's see if we can do it. It should be a lot faster than what it was. That was pretty slow. And I think this actually needs to exist with the backend as well. This is just bundling up the front end. So there's going to be, so I'm going to need to configure some stuff on my end as well. Okay, let's see. Docker failed. Boom, boom, boom. It might be one of the YAML files that I have. Let me pop it off over here. And maybe I could just show you guys ports 8080. We'll say 9090. How about that? Let's try to build this up one more time. Oh. Okay. Let's see. I've got a good feeling about this one. Unless it has something to do with the Nginx scripts, then, which it might because we are using port 3000 right now. Let me go ahead and close out Lucid Chart. Let's close out 3000. Boom, boom. Complete log. This can be found. Okay. Front-end app exited with code 1. Let's try one more time. Oh, it looks like it still had a container up and running though. So we'll try one more time. But we should get an image. Start worker process with 36. Okay, let me close down the other. So it popped up on my Docker desktop, which is good. That's a decent sign. So I do think Docker, oh, not that word. That word's not what we want. Docker run. Let's say Docker exec. No, we want Docker build. Is what we want, guys. We want build. Yeah, we'll go for that. Build Next.js app. This is what I think we needed. Okay, we need to build the image and then run it. So let's see if this works. Building, building, building. Copying. It's running through the script. And boom, it wrote the image right here. Okay, cool. So then now we can go Docker run, I believe. And we need to port forward it. So right now, I think it's running on, let's give it a port. So we'll give it port 3005. And right now it's running on 9090. And then we'll put in the image that it is. And this should work, I believe. No. Okay. Next start, front-end app. Failed. Maybe I need to compose up and then do that, potentially. If not, I'll show you guys the build I had yesterday, but basically what we want to do is just show it on a local machine that it is working. That oh, I see. I think I'm putting a Redis in here in the script, so that obviously is not going to help. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and get the Redis out of the script. I think that's not helping very much. Don't need Redis. Let's go ahead and get that out. And but basically we want to prove that it's working. And the idea is our machine is running on localhost, right? On whatever. But if we can show that, hey, we can port forward to wherever the virtual machine is hosting this application, and it's still at least showing something, where even if the backend's not working, even if the application's crashed, but if it's still saying like Next.js with no CSS or something, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So it looks like we're having a little bit of trouble here. So I'll just pull up the version I had over here. And it was just a really basic application, just Node.js, just using Docker, right? And I just wanted to configure a few things. So we have our container canceled. So let's Docker compose, and I can actually run this because I think it is built up already. So Docker-p, or where's kind of our autocomplete? Let's see, Docker. So Docker build. How about this? Next.js.app. So we should still get a new image. Boom. So here's our new image. And let's see, Docker. We'll say run -p. Let's try this. Oh, and this one's on 8080, not 9090, so that shouldn't work. Oh, but it looks like it's working. So it says it's running. Let's check one of these ports, whether it's 9090 or 3005. Shouldn't work though, because it's on neither of these. Yeah. So I'm going to try to do that same command, just change the port number here to 8080 instead of 9090. Let's go ahead and try that. 8080, boom. And we should be able to actually go to 3005 is what it should be. Docker is easy. And that's exactly our application right here. So this is actually coming from a virtual machine that Docker is hosting. It's hosting a container. Over here. So this is where it's actually hosting, I believe, is this one, 3005 to port 8080. So it's a virtual container. This isn't the same as running off of our machine. These are different. These are different servers. So if we go ahead and do this, and I have NodeMon installed, if we say run start here, this is actually a different port, or should be, because let's see, app is on 8080. So this is going to be a different application. Same application, right? Same content, but it's actually two different virtual, or one's a virtual machine, the other's or a virtual environment, or whatever Docker does for their containers, and then the other is actually our local host machine. So that's Docker being successful on a small scale. We have to do the same thing on a larger scale. Looks like I had a few errors and stuff, but maybe I do want to wait for putting the backend, or at least trying to put the backend to the front end and compiling everything. But it's good to see that okay, we can containerize, we can take care of the application, and this is also configured with Nginx. So that is important. And that, folks, I think is an appropriate time to wrap up the lesson today. Let me go ahead and pop this out, pull our application back in. So I will chip away at this and figure out how to do it. I'm sure I'm just missing something simple. It seems to be that way, where it's just simple stuff sometimes. Let's get back to our application though. And we're on port 3001 for the backend. And I think AWS also has a containerization thing. So, and they used to have an elastic load balancing system. I think they changed it to something else. It's like ECS or something, I think. AWS ECS. Let's see. Elastic Container Service. So this is going to be something to look into as well. But the idea is we're starting to do the symphony of things, right? Of okay, now we're starting to somewhat configure this. We do have our basic functionality of the Kanban working, our rough minimal viable product. We kind of just need to integrate Stripe and then launch it on Docker and and maybe the ECS service from AWS, and figure out what else we need to figure out to kind of have this like front end to back end. And then I'm happy to add features as it's publicly deployed, as it's available with Stripe, as it's a usable minimal viable product, right? That's kind of the goal here, right? I don't want to sit here and tweak and tweak. I do want to sit here and tweak, but after configuring these other lessons and these harder things, because I do think if we sit here and play with other components like the project completion thing, I think we're going to figure it out ultimately. Like these other things, I think we're ultimately going to figure out. It seems like the Kanban page is just about done. There's some front end ideas I want to do, but again, like that's all just within the code. I want to start accessing the larger things. So we have the code, then we want to containerize the code. We built out a little bit of a system, and then we want to ship that to a larger scale thing. I think that's roughly what I'm thinking, because then we can always add to the code, push to the repo, which fires off all that stuff. But I think those are probably going to be two more important things at this, or more valuable things, dare I say, is containerization, and then also integrating like Cypress for testing. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of that, because this other stuff I can kind of work on behind the scenes, like the updating status stuff, just kind of whenever I figure that out. But I would feel a lot better about that. And then as we add each service, a user service, a team service, a project service, then it's getting added to the entire application kind of through and through, end to end. But I only feel comfortable doing that if we're starting with a really, 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 really solid, robust thing. So I want to get the task, just Kanban thing fleshed out and end to end, ready to be delivered and containerized and tested, is I think the goal here. So I'll wrap it up here, because I'm seeing a lot of progress, and I know this seems like it's subtle progress, and I guess it is subtle progress to some degree, but you got to really zoom out and think about what we're doing. We did from all of this, right? When we originally built this document on, I think, episode 2, and we're at like episode 22, I believe, or 23 or 21, one of those. And we've integrated a lot of these things. Like now we're stepping into Docker and Nginx, considering Kubernetes maybe. This is kind of the same thing right here, one of these two. We're looking into maybe considering some Cypress, kind of our contract for the data, the docs, and where is it? Contract and API, or contract and API docs. We were going to use Swagger Hub to generate our contracts, but if we're going to use Prisma to generate, that's as good. In fact, that's better. I would prefer that, because Swagger Hub's a whole added service if you can avoid it. C# and the .NET, they immediately have it kind of built in. But if we could just have Prisma generate the contracts off of the schemas, problem solved. But Swagger Hub is kind of monitoring contracts. It's kind of saying, okay, you need to write the schemas and then build contracts for your project. And then your project needs to kind of fit the schemas. But then if you have to change the schema, you got to go back to Swagger Hub to regenerate the contracts to go fit your project. Versus Prisma, if we just generate the contracts, it's already within the project. Problem solved, folks. Problem solved. So that's where TRPC and Prisma, we might be negating this. So we'll say Prisma generate contracts, assuming we can get that done. So I won't do that yet, but that's going to be the goal. So we're going to put a star here, because if we can do that, then I will be avoiding Swagger Hub, because it's just redundant at that point. It's not a useful thing for a one-man team, but it could be useful if I was with a 5-man team or something. But even then, I could see one guy just having access to generate the contracts and everyone else not. So I do like that. I really do. So we've somewhat configured the contracts even from day 0 of just having this utils folder with our types in there. The backend, we've got these things figured out, right? Next thing is we might want to look into an S3 bucket or something for our photo uploads. We got this figured out, our ORM and MongoDB. I remember talking about the ORM on episode 2, being like, well, we'll figure it out. And we figured it out. So that's awesome. We already have it deployed on Amplify. That was day 2 as well, I believe. PWA, we do need to do. Docker, we did have up top. Nginx, Docker and Nginx, we look like we can knock off on this. React Native, I don't think we'll need to do if we can do the PWA. It's kind of redundant. They're kind of doing the same thing. Meaning we can use PWAs for mobile applications. I don't know how to get it on the App Store though. I'll have to look into that, but I do think it is doable. We did do Clerk. Maybe I can integrate Stripe in the near future. And then we're kind of banging through some of these core items on the checklist. So this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done. We still need WebSockets. This is gonna be done, gonna be done, gonna be done. Got to look into, I was playing around with Redis. I do understand how to write the APIs like it, but integrating Redis, it's just going to take a little time for me to do, but we need to do accessibility. There's like the 508 accessibility standards or the A11, like the ALI standards. These are compliance standards. So when you build a web application, they want to have, like, make sure that you're not having too flashy of stuff for people who have accessibility issues or vision issues or hearing issues. You need to have a screen reader. You need to have all these things. There's actually a company that does it, Accessiby, but they do charge a little bit of money every year, so we don't want to do that. But they do make your application completely compliant with all this WCAG 2.1, the 805 thing. So $49 a month, and they will literally make your entire application. They have like a little pop-up that is in the corner. It's this one right here, actually. And you can do all of this. So seizure safe, so any hover states, any high contrast things, vision impaired, it might make things bigger. Cognitive disability, you could do all these things. Readable font, highlight titles, and literally their thing will go through it. And they have a tab function as well, where you could skip content. So would be an easy way to configure the accessibility, light contrast, right, dark contrast, all these things that make something 508 compliant. So I know it looks ugly, but there are people who do need to access web applications this way. So it's important to integrate. So I think if we cover all these things, we're looking at a pretty robust application. So I'm going to continue to chip away at it, guys, but thank you so much for watching and staying on board. I will chip away at it kind of behind the scenes. I'm probably going to take a hour after this just to figure out some things on this Kanban page, specifically around the task status. Yeah, just do what I can do. So, and like I said, I'll go ahead and try to compile these things front end to back end into a giant folder. My only concern is how is that going to work for deployment? So maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. Maybe we'll have Prisma exist at the top of the file and that generate everything. Don't know if you can do that or not, but we'll try. So I'm going to try a few different things, folks, because you know what I mean? It's time to kind of get to the meat and potatoes of this application, and I think we're getting there. I really do. So thank you so much, guys, again for watching. And as always, I really am grateful that people are subscribing and watching the channel. I'm just seeing the views just like literally it has like this thing going on, and I'm just genuinely getting humbled by that because I don't know. I worked really hard in music and it didn't work out really well. And I remember days of just putting out records, song after song, and just watching views even go down. And it was so just counterintuitive. And this, I'm like having fun. I'm enjoying, I'm challenging myself, adding new technologies. And I'm I'm just seeing it be an expansive thing. So I really appreciate it. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, guys. So thank you so much. Cheers.